Welcome to the Magnetic Leadership Podcast by educator Dave Johnson.
Morning. My name is Dave Neff. Just thought I'd introduce myself just in case you didn't know who I was. Dave Neff, and it's really a delight to be able to share some thoughts about the Avini discoveries this morning and how they've affected my life and the lives of some of my siblings and some of my friends. So there's been some amazing effects. And it was kind of interesting because about, 2 years ago or so, I was introduced to Avini, and the things that have happened in the last 2 years are just amazing. I'll share some of those with you. But in the meantime, let me just give you a little outline of what we're going to cover. First of all, I want to talk about the Avini benefits from a health standpoint. And secondly, the Avini benefits from a financial standpoint, because lots of times people have a challenge in their lives financially and maybe can't afford to do this or that. And then take a little look into the potential future of having Avini in our lives. And so that'll be kind of an outline. So the benefits from a health perspective. First of all, let me just say that health, generally speaking, became a distinct interest in my life very early on, at about age 20. And most of my focus was on things like taking the best supplements, herbs, and things like that. And this interest began because I was able to read it was kind of unique to read a medical study that just marked my life. But anyway, so I was focused on taking the best minerals, vitamins, herbs, and so on and so forth. And also doing regular exercise and hydrating and drinking enough water and so on, getting enough sleep, all those kind of balanced out. And my goal was to stay healthy. Actually, originally my goal was to become an Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that didn't happen. And then my goal was to be a long-distance runner and a biker, and those did happen, and that was interesting. So I've been doing things like that most of my life. But mostly it had to do with putting healthy things into my body. So think about that. So for, now about 59 years, I've been seeking to focus on putting really, really healthy things into my body and trying to take care of things and still be very active and so on and so forth. Well, interestingly enough, I became focused on cardiovascular disease, and because that was the biggest killer. So it really interested me, not only to stay healthy from that standpoint, but I began to recognize that masses of people were having cardiovascular issues and heart attacks and strokes and all kinds of things. And so I invested in a piece of medical equipment way back when anyway, and it examines the cardiovascular system very, very deeply. And then I began to fly all around Canada and the United States at the invitation of different types of medical doctors, naturopathic doctors, chiropractors, and other medical professionals who wanted me to test their patient load and some of their staff members as well. So I began doing that, and it became just a full-time thing, except I was still working in the corporate world and trying to do this. So it really was a part-time thing, but did I spend some hours. Interestingly enough, though, I would go into a doctor's office in one part of the country, and I would spend Monday where I would do a whole seminar on what my machine was going to determine and see in their system, their cardiovascular system. And then I would explain how to reverse whatever problems we found naturally, or how to prevent problems if we found somebody to be relatively healthy in the cardiovascular arena. And so those things really focused again on putting things into the body, because I was using a formulation that was patterned after a Nobel Prize winning scientist had developed a unique interest in couple of different ingredients that were they were spectacular from the standpoint of helping the cardiovascular system. And so let me say this, don't get me wrong on this now. It is extremely important to be taking in good things that can help with our health. That's true. Based on some evidence, both in the form of peer-reviewed studies and in the form of testimonials, some in my immediate family, it's become vitally important to get focused first on taking bad things out of the body. This has been a very, very unique change in the look of health. So basically what Avini is all about is taking bad things out of the body. So you can allow the body, as our scientist Rick Deitch says, to begin to fix itself like it was designed to do. And the track record of that happening is absolutely stunning to me because there's so many personal things that took place in my family. Let me explain. The removal of heavy metals and toxins and living bad things that get into our bodies through the air we breathe, the water we drink, the foods we eat, and so on. Not to mention many professional occupations that involve being around different types of toxins are vitally important. And if we don't focus on removing those, and by the way, you'll see me flash a note page periodically. I'm trying to stay on track here. But anyway, if we don't focus on getting those out, putting all kinds of good things in ceases to be vitally important. All right, so now let me just tell you, because I honestly know firsthand what I'm talking about right here. After losing 5 of my 11 siblings to different types of bad cell development in their bodies, finally, the next 2 of my 11 siblings, number 6 and number 7, that developed bad cells over the past few years were able to use some of the Avini discoveries. And the interesting part is it allowed their body to actually fix itself, and they are living healthy lives now. This has been amazing to see that finally we may have come to a real helpful way of both reversing major problems in the body by cleaning it out and, interestingly enough, preventing the same major problems from occurring if, in fact, one does not have a major problem yet. And I emphasize yet because, let's face it, I've talked to young people all over the place, and I talk to older people who are still healthy. And one day, typically, in most of our lives, it's going to happen. It's going to come to reality. If we do something to clean our bodies out and allow them to begin to fix themselves or preserve themselves better, then we push that day way out. I mean, one day we're all going to die, no question. But the interesting part is this cleaning out process has been just dramatic. So I'm just going to say right off, I'm just truly amazed and truly thankful that God allowed us to find out about these Avini discoveries. There's numerous Avini discoveries, and each one of them has its special focus. And so I encourage you right up front to get back with the person who invited you to take a look at what's going on here and talk about some of the details of what's available and what has been discovered, as I call it, the Avini discoveries that Rick Deitch has developed over the last 30 years. So let's look at one of them right now in particular called Cell Defender for a couple minutes. This is an exceptional discovery, and other companies have tried unsuccessfully to copy it. But the real one, Cell Defender, with the registered detoxolite in it, the Cell Defender is the real one. And it's absolutely wonderful in how it removes the heavy metals and toxins from our bodies and allows the body truly to begin to fix itself again. So what is this detoxolite that's in it? It was developed by Rick Deitch through a painstaking process of discovery and developed sometime in the past 30 years. I'm just going to put it simply that way. He's been working on it for a long time. And it's made from, a couple of big words here, clinoptilolite zeolite. This is a volcanic rock that has thousands of very small chambers in it. Each chamber has a negative electrical charge, very important point. The heavy metals have a positive electric charge. So the clinoptilolite zeolite wrongly attracts like a magnet heavy metals, traps them inside the tiny chambers. And so in order to make the clinoptilolite zeolite, I'll stop saying those big words now. You can't say them fast too many times, but into detoxolite, the registered name for it, so they can be used to truly and effectively remove heavy metals and toxins. Okay. He had to, his word, learn how to micronize the zeolite. It's rocks. You can go and mine it, and it's a bunch of rocks and dirt, if you want to put it that way. And he had to be able to micronize that down to, and he successfully did micronize it down, way down to the size of about 1/7 the size of a single red human blood cell. Very, very small. But he also had to make sure the particles remained and those chambers remained negatively charged. And he had to clean out the toxins that were already in them, because when that volcano explodes and that zeolite develops, so to speak, those chambers fill up so fast with heavy metals in the earth and through the air and all this kind of stuff. So he had to clean all those out. And nobody else has ever done what he has done. And although, like I mentioned, people have tried to copy it. Well, my brother was sent into the Vietnam War zone and was exposed way too much to Agent Orange, among other heavy metals and toxins. And as a result, he developed very bad cells in several areas of his body, including his skull, on the top of his head, and his prostate, and so on. And it was interesting that he fought this for a long time, and his PSA numbers were up to 14 and so on for about 5 years or something to that effect. And after carefully using the Avini Cell Defender and some of the other ones I can explain or mention in a little bit, for about 9 months, his doctor just called him and said, "Steve, we've got to do a biopsy to see what's going on," because when he had first looked at him through a scan at his prostate and whatnot, he saw some things that were very, very, shall I say, sobering for the doctor. And after 9 months of Steve using Cell Defender, among other things that Avini has provided, he had a full biopsy done, and there was absolutely no sign of any bad cells. It was gone. And my brother was sort of shocked, but delightfully shocked. The doctor was shocked, couldn't figure it out. And they did some explanation to him, although he wasn't highly receptive at the time, but now he's a little bit more receptive. Well, the interesting part about it is that Cell Defender works so well at cleaning out the blood once those little particles, because he suspends those little tiny particles in highly purified water, and then you simply take those drops, and when you put a little squirt in your mouth, it gets into your bloodstream rather rapidly. You want to drink a little extra water, and so that it helps it get into your bloodstream quickly and helps you excrete the particles once they're full and so on. And so that's really important. That's what Steve did. He actually took some, plus or minus every hour, and he drank a little bit extra water, maybe a couple gulps each half hour, to try to make it work well. And in 6 months, his 14 number, PSA number, went down to 6. And in 3 more months, it was down to 2.0. And a healthy male prostate will typically have a PSA number of 4.0 or less. He was down to 2, and his doctor absolutely couldn't believe it. But he still wanted to do that biopsy. And Steve's kind of glad he did go through the troublesome biopsy now, because it proved it once and for all. So now he's on a maintenance dosage. But interestingly enough, he also used what's called zeolites mushrooms and plus fiber and nano silver. And those, with Cell Defender, those 4 are so foundational, although there are others that are vitally important as well. But just a quick mention, zeolite is made with the detoxolite in a slightly larger size. So it doesn't go into the bloodstream like the Cell Defender does and clean out wherever the blood goes, clean the blood out, basically. But it goes into the stomach and grabs the heavy metals that are coming into the stomach through the foods you're currently eating. So it doesn't allow them to add to the body burden. Because once they add to the body burden, then the Cell Defender has to try to take more out. And then the plus fiber, similarly, it does clean out the colon and help keep it clean, but it has a slightly larger size yet of the detoxolite, and it grabs heavy metals out of the colon area to keep that clean and keep it from adding to the body burden. So by using these zeolite mushrooms and the plus fiber, you're lightening the load that's on your body. You're keeping, rather, the load from increasing. And then keep continuing to use the Cell Defender, it keeps cleaning the blood out. Now, what's interesting is the body, in order to save your life, tends to hide the heavy metals in various places in the body so your body can keep functioning properly, like in some of the organs, in fat cells, et cetera, et cetera. When you use the Cell Defender, it cleans the blood out so effectively, the body goes, whoa, blood's clean. Let's get rid of some of this other. So it pulls it out of the hiding places, puts it in the blood, Then your next dose of cell defender picks up some more. I mean, you can think of the cell defender particles that are so small as little tiny miniature pickup trucks going in unloaded, and they load up with heavy metals and they drive out. And when they're out, wow, now there's nothing in your blood. So the body tends to load the blood up again from where it's been storing the heavy metals and toxins. And then your next dose of cell defender takes some more out. I mean, that's a kind of a layman's language picture of how it's working. So you want to do that whether you have a bad issue going on or not in your life. I mean, seriously, do it so you can prevent the possibility of preventing your body from getting some major problems. You allow your body to work properly, to clean itself out and be able to fix itself before you even know that you've got a problem coming. I mean, to me, that is so amazingly possible nowadays. I mean, when we were young as kids, Dad built a house way out in San Jose, California, there was nothing but orchards around us. Pear orchards, apples, almonds, walnuts, just all kinds of orchards like this, prunes and so on. And then right behind us, we didn't have any fences or anything. We're out in the middle of nowhere. And right behind us was about, 50 to 100 acres of strawberries. And one fun time when we were all pretty much toddlers was when the double-winged crop duster came flying down across that field about 6 feet from the field or so. And he'd wave at us, we'd wave at him, and he's laying down this big white cloud, and we're just playing in it, breathing it, whatever. We didn't know what DDT was at the time. We didn't know what it would do or anything. So we obviously were taking a lot of heavy metals and toxins into our bodies right there as young kids. And so it doesn't shock me that my youngest sister at age 50 was gone from the development of bad cells in her body and so on. And this is kind of interesting to me that now all of a sudden we're cleaning our bodies out and the rest of the siblings aren't getting those issues. And they're being able to live healthier lives at 80 years old and things like that. It's just been shockingly wonderful. So get used to it. But let me let's see if I can connect into a real short testimonial. It's about 3 minutes long of my brother sharing his experience. If I can share the screen here.
My name's Steve Neff. I'm gonna give you a little update on my story, and I've got a few notes here to look at because some-timers kicks in every now and then. Shortly after high school and my first semester of college, I was drafted into the United States Army and sent to Vietnam within a year of that time. While I was there, I picked up numerous toxins and heavy metals, including being exposed to Agent Orange. Later on, among other problems, I developed some serious prostate issues, including bad cells. And my PSA prostate test showed that it was all the way up to 14. And a healthy prostate should be at a 4 or less. So the doctor said the bad cells typically are fairly slow growing, but he was concerned that there is a variety of cells that could be extremely fast growing. So with this news, I talked to my brother Dave to see what he was doing to solve similar problems. And he shared details about a Rick, the scientist, and I started on these products right away. My doctor talked about a biopsy because he knew I had high PSA numbers at that time. I was very opposed to the biopsy, but I said that I wanted to try a natural approach first. And the doctor said he wanted to see me and revisit this in about 6 months. So I went back in 6 months and my PSA numbers dropped significantly from 14 all the way down to a 6. And the only thing that I had changed in my life was I started the Avini Cell Defender. I was taking it about 5 to 6 times a day and sticking to 10 drops each time. So I went back and he was totally baffled, and he, kind of blew off the idea that the Cell Defender was something that was doing the job. But he did agree that we should wait another 3 months and then revisit and check it again, just in case there's something that he missed. So this would be the 9-month point. I went back and my blood draw showed that the PSA was all the way down to a 2. And the doctor was very amazed. And so he wanted to do that biopsy. He wanted to do an exam and do the biopsy because there was a small gland that showed just was off colored in one of the scans. And he wanted to keep an eye on that and see if there was anything to that. So I finally agreed to do the biopsy. And in my mind, I just wanted to rule out anything that would be a concern, like bad cells. So yeah, we did the biopsy. No sign of bad cells. Say the least, I'm very thankful.
All right, let me pull
I
that
think I'm
on.
gonna start cutting carbs. I need to drop my belly fat.
Hopefully you were able to see that testimonial well. And anyway, so at this point, let me jump over to something else really quick that has been very, very helpful to me. One of the discoveries by Rick Deitch, it's been a huge blessing to me, is called Plus Relief for pain. I spent 2 years in the Vietnam War zone before my brother and came back with some injuries. And it was interesting. I found out that some of the background to this particular discovery, Rick had this dream and desire of figuring out how to help returning injured veterans not get hooked on opiates. And my doctor prescribed oxycodone for me, and I took one pill, and then I thought, wait a second, let me read up on this, and started reading side effects and so on and so forth. Yes, it did help with the pain, but it also made me practically further disabled because I couldn't drive and couldn't think straight and so on and so forth. Well, Rick did discover and develop this one called Plus Relief for pain. And when I returned from Vietnam War zone, I had these injuries, and the prescription again was oxycodone. Well, that was not easy to do, to make the decision to not take the oxycodone because I needed it. But I made that decision, decided I'd just live with it. And when I began to hold a glass, this is not a glass, but this is plastic, but I'd hold a glass in my hand, take a drink of water, and all of a sudden a shot of pain would hit me, and I'd drop it, and it would break, and stuff like that was going on. But when I was first introduced to the Plus Relief, it changed my life beautifully. Some of the pains reduced very quickly. Others took longer, and I had to really, really learn some patience. So in the case of my knees, it took me applying the Plus Relief gel, catch this now, every 3 hours during my awake time for 5 days. I thought, is this going to work? What's going on? And I could have easily stopped and said, it didn't work for me. But it had worked so well for my hands, it took about 15 minutes, and I could literally punch a punching bag again. Instead of dropping glasses, I could hold on to things. I was expecting that. Well, I had to learn that some parts of the body and some different pains take a little bit longer. So I not only put the gel on my knees every 3 hours, just wore shorts all the time, but I sprayed the spray, into my mouth, about 8 to 10 sprays at the same time as I put the gel on. And literally it took me 5 days. But after that, I could run again. I could go upstairs and do everything just normally. It was just an amazing, amazing life changer for me. Once again, I encourage you, if you have pain issues, be patient and use it appropriately. Use it regularly so that it gives it a chance to really, really work. So Plus Relief takes care of the pain, but it also, catch this, reverses inflammation. And that helped big time. So let's move from the discussion of some of the discoveries. There's more discoveries. By the way, there's one other one. I have to mention this one. Plus Hydration has made a dramatic difference for me. I drink probably a container about like this of Plus Hydration. And this is probably, I don't know, maybe close, not quite a quart. But anyway, I mix the Plus Hydration. I drink that first thing in the morning. And last thing before I actually lie down to go to sleep. And the interesting part is, I don't have to get up and go to the bathroom because that Plus Hydration so effectively causes the water to not just go into my stomach and then to my kidneys and then to my bladder and I have to run to the bathroom and go out. No, it actually causes it to hydrate, get into the muscle tissue, the cells, and so on and so forth, and to hydrate the body really, really well instead of just going through me and going out. And the interesting part about it is some people look at the ingredients and they go, whoa, that's got way too much of this or that or whatever. No, look at the details carefully. Listen to Rick Deitch describe this. It is the best hydration product I have ever seen or used. And some of the tests that he did on it with some professional athletes were just amazing to hear. I encourage you to look at the Plus Hydration very closely and ask questions about it. It's extremely interesting. All right, that said, let's look at the financial considerations with Avini, because I think there's some real wisdom here. Several things come to mind. One, I found personally, and I've helped other people discover, that Avini as a company helps you afford the Avini products. Well, let me give you a little background. I started an advertising company some years ago now, and I owned it for 20 years. And direct mail advertising company is a franchise of a national corporation. And I had a 2-state business, and I worked with a lot of business owners. And the interesting part is, as I began to get to know business owners all over the place, I found that virtually every one of them, from individual businesses like an attorney with just one office type of thing, to a doctor's office, to a big chain like Safeway stores or McDonald's fast food or whatever, virtually every one of these businesses, on average, had 50% of their incoming dollars set aside for advertising. It was their method of getting people in the door and increasing that so their business would succeed. Well, virtually every business has it like that. And Avini, in one sense, is no different. I don't know their exact percentage of what they set aside, but guess what? They don't do direct mail advertising. They don't put ads in the paper. They don't put ads on the radio or TV or anything. In fact, they use that advertising budget to say thank you to people like you and me for taking the time and believing in the Avini discoveries so much that we are willing to share them with others to help others get well. If you have a heart to help other people, it's amazing what you can do, because Avini, when you do share it, Avini pays you and they help you afford your products. I have people now that couldn't afford it at first. In some cases, I actually helped them. But now, because they got so excited about it, what it was doing for them and some of their relatives and friends, they have helped those people get used to using them and change their lives. And so now they are earning enough to pay for their products. It's an amazing, helpful financial situation. Well, let's look at the second little consideration. It helps with personal income. I mean, some people that I've talked to that I'm helping try to balance their budget when they're faced with major health situations, well, they got to pay other bills too. They got to pay the rent still. They got to pay the utilities and so on and so forth. Well, guess what? They are now helping enough other people so that they've begun to be able to have a personal secondary income that's helping them be able to live through some tough times. It's been very interesting. The affordability of the products in the first place, just think about the perspective of the value of our health. What is your life worth? What is a healthy life worth? And it's interesting because a long time ago, I became convinced that I needed to set aside so much, a certain percentage of my income to take care of my health. That's how I kept up with various kinds of supplements and herbs and things that were helping me stay healthy and giving me energy. And I don't mean phony energy. I mean good, solid, healthy energy. So when it comes down to common sense, we need to think about our health as way more valuable than a new car or a new house. Those are important, or a trip to the coast or anything else in life. If you don't have your health, what good's a new car going to do you? What good's a new house going to do you if you can't afford to even be alive, so to speak? So we think about it, just think about it carefully. If you do not have good health, everything else doesn't matter. So think about this. When I owned the advertising business, and I saw that difference, and I see how Avini now shares their income with us for doing the advertising, so to speak, by simply the way the advertising goes, we simply have a heart that cares for other people so much that we're willing to share something that has helped us or that has helped other people. You don't even have to have your own testimonial yet. There are thousands of testimonials available to you now that show that these products help the removal of toxins and different things from the body that are bad so much that the body can actually fix itself. It's happening over and over again. So before you even have your own testimonial, you can use the testimonial of others to share with your friends and watch them get well, maybe faster than you even, which would be shocking, very interesting. But when you get yourself well and you share that with other people, oh my goodness, your products will be paid for. And then helping with the personal income. Just take the time to care enough for others to share with other people, and in due time, you'll have a part-time income, so to speak. And then there's the potential development of an actual business. What about the development of a successful business? If you're getting where I'm going, if you're understanding where I'm going here, developing a successful business with a significant income is simply the result of continuing to regularly share and follow up with others that need better health. I mean, let's face it, share with people and your income will develop. It's interesting. One of my brothers began to share with people. He got so excited at his renewed health, he began to share with some people, and they were beginning to experience renewed health and so on. And all of a sudden, he had, so to speak, a check for a couple $1,000s. And he said, "What?" He said, "Where'd that come from? What?" He didn't even understand the compensation plan or anything. This is I like to call it a quasi-network marketing company. Well, I had some PTSD about network marketing, but guess what? This is a pure form of network marketing that is so much better than anything I've ever experienced. And trust me on this, I've been involved with 9 other companies, and every single one of them socked me for an annual fee and a fee for maybe a website, all kinds of different things, and penalized me if I didn't do it a certain way, if I didn't keep my auto ship on. This company does none of that. It is here to help people get well and to help you survive financially as you help others get well. It's just an amazing thing. So what do you want your financial health in the future to look like? I mean, the answer to this question is totally up to you. You can get back with the person that invited you to listen in today, and they can help you focus on your goal. Whatever you choose, move forward with it. Seriously. It is an amazing opportunity to be able to change your life physiologically to better health, to protect your life from bad health, and to develop more financial stability, especially in these tough times. That's basically what I had to share this morning.
Thank you for joining the Magnetic Leadership Podcast with Dave Johnson. Take charge of your health and detoxify today with Avini Premium products.